My childhood friend became a famous Hollywood actor and pretended not to know me. His reaction when I showed up at his movie premiere changed everything. I, 29M, never thought I'd be sharing this story, but after what happened last weekend, I need to get it off my chest. We grew up together in a small town where everyone knew everyone. For privacy, I'll call him my friend. From ages 8 to 18, we were inseparable, building forts in the woods behind my house, staying up all night playing video games, and making stupid home movies with my dad's camcorder. He always talked about becoming an actor someday. I remember him reciting movie lines in perfect impressions while we walked home from school. Most of us thought it was just a phase, but he was dead serious. After high school, he moved to LA while I stayed behind to help with my family's business. We promised to stay in touch, and for the first year, we did. Late-night calls about his auditions and my business classes, texts about inside jokes only we understood. Then he landed a small role in a TV show. Nothing major, just a recurring character that appeared in a few episodes. But it was enough. Our calls became less frequent, his responses to texts slower. I figured he was busy, living the dream. I was happy for him. Fast forward 5 years, and he'd become a legitimate star. Supporting roles in big movies, magazine covers, talk show appearances. I watched his rise to fame from afar, occasionally sending congratulatory messages that went unanswered. I stopped reaching out eventually. Life went on. Last year, I moved to the city for work. One morning while scrolling through social media, I saw an ad for his new movie premiere happening downtown. Something compelled me to go, not to confront him or cause drama, just to see him in his element, maybe catch a glimpse of the friend I once knew. Getting tickets wasn't easy, but I managed to snag one through work connections. The night of the premiere arrived, and I stood in that crowd feeling completely out of place among the glitz and glamour. Celebrities walked the red carpet while photographers shouted their names. And then he appeared, looking nothing like the kid who used to crash on my family's couch, but somehow exactly the same. I don't know what possessed me to move toward the barricade. Maybe it was seeing him smiling that same smile from when we were kids. Before I could think better of it, I called out his name, his real name, not his stage name. He turned, and for a split second, there was recognition in his eyes. But as quickly as it appeared, it vanished. "Sorry, I think you've confused me with someone else," he said with a practiced smile before turning away to pose for another photo. The security guard gave me a warning look. I backed away, embarrassed and hurt. Had he really forgotten me? Or worse, was he pretending not to know me? I watched the movie in a daze. He was brilliant in it, I had to admit. But all I could think about was that moment of dismissal. As the credits rolled and people filed out for the after-party, I decided to leave. What was I thinking coming here? In the lobby, I bumped into someone, literally bumped into them, spilling their drink. I looked up to apologize and found myself face-to-face with his co-star, a woman who'd been in several films I admired. "I'm so sorry," I stammered, grabbing napkins from a nearby table. She waved it off with a laugh. "Don't worry about it. These things happen." We got to talking, about the movie, about where I was from. When I mentioned my hometown, her eyes lit up. "That's where he's from too," she said, gesturing toward a poster featuring my former friend. He never talks about it though. I don't know why, but I told her everything. About growing up together, about losing touch, about him pretending not to know me earlier. She listened intently, nodding occasionally. "You know," she said when I finished, "the after-party is at the hotel across the street. You should come." Before I could protest, she was writing my name on the guest list and insisting it wasn't a big deal. "Everyone brings friends," she assured me. That's how I found myself at a Hollywood after-party, nursing a drink in the corner and wondering what I was doing there. The room was packed with beautiful people making industry small talk. I was about to leave when I saw him enter, surrounded by his entourage. His co-star caught his eye and waved him over to where I was standing. The look on his face when he recognized me was indescribable. Shock, panic, maybe a hint of shame. "Look who I ran into," she said, seemingly oblivious to the tension. "Says you two grew up together." There was a long, uncomfortable silence. The kind that stretches time and makes seconds feel like hours. "Yeah," he finally said, voice tight. "We did." His co-star excused herself to greet someone else, leaving us alone in a crowded room. "What are you doing here?" he asked once she was gone, voice barely above a whisper. "Your co-star invited me. I didn't plan this." He glanced around nervously. "Look, now isn't a good time. I have people I need to talk to." But as he turned to leave, I couldn't help myself. "You pretended not to know me." He stopped. "I didn't. On the red carpet. You looked right at me and pretended we'd never met." His expression hardened. It was the red carpet. Cameras everywhere. I was working. And acknowledging an old friend would have what? Ruined your image. "You don't understand what it's like," he said, lowering his voice. "Every interaction gets scrutinized. Every connection from my past suddenly becomes someone's ticket to 15 minutes. Is that what you think I want? Attention. He didn't answer, which was answer enough. I watched you perform school plays in my garage, I said quietly. I helped you practice lines for your first auditions. I was there when no one else believed you'd make it. Something shifted in his eyes then. The practiced celebrity veneer cracked a little. My publicist is waving me over, he said, but made no move to leave. Instead, he pulled out his phone. Give me your number. I hesitated. Please, he added. I gave it to him, not expecting anything to come of it. Then he was gone, swallowed by the crowd of admirers and industry people. I left shortly after, feeling foolish. The whole adventure seemed like some strange dream as I rode the subway back to my apartment. What was I thinking, showing up at his premiere? We weren't kids anymore. People grow apart. That's life. My phone rang at 3 a.m. Unknown number. I answered it half-heartedly, figuring it was a wrong number. Hey. His voice came through, sounding exactly like it did when we were teenagers calling each other after midnight. Can we talk? For real this time. He was in a car outside my building 20 minutes later. I didn't ask how he found my address. Celebrity resources, I guessed. We walked to a 24-hour diner a few blocks away, the kind of place no one would expect to find someone like him. Over mediocre coffee, the facade fell away completely. He apologized for the red carpet, for the years of silence, for everything. I convinced myself it was easier to leave the past behind, he admitted. New life, new me. Every time I thought about reaching out, more time had passed, and it got harder to explain why I hadn't called. I understood that feeling all too well. Then I saw articles about people I barely knew in high school selling stories about me. The kid who sat behind me in math claiming we were best friends. The girl I took to one school dance suddenly revealing all about our relationship. I got paranoid. Started avoiding everyone from back home. I would never do that, I said. I know, he sighed. That's the worst part. I know you wouldn't. You're the one person who knew me before all this who actually cared about me, not what I could do for them. We talked until sunrise, about his life in the spotlight, its weird loneliness despite constant attention, about my much more ordinary existence that sometimes felt more real than his, about mutual friends from home, my family who always asked about him, memories we hadn't revisited in years. As the morning crowd began to filter into the diner, reality set in. He had a flight to catch for his next premiere in another city. I meant what I said last night, he told me as we stood outside. About staying in touch. For real this time. I'd heard that before, so I just nodded, not wanting to end things on a sour note. No, I'm serious, he insisted, seeming to read my thoughts the way he used to when we were kids. I have a place upstate, just a small cabin away from everything. I go there between projects to decompress. No one knows about it except my mom. I want you to come up next month when I'm done with this press tour. The invitation felt genuine. Like maybe this time would be different. We've talked every day since. Sometimes just quick texts, sometimes long calls like we used to have. He sends ridiculous selfies from hotel rooms around the world. I update him on the normal, everyday stuff he claims to miss. Next weekend, I'm driving up to that cabin. I don't know if this rekindled friendship will last, but I do know that for a few hours in that diner, he wasn't a movie star, and I wasn't the friend he'd left behind. We were just us again, the same kids who made terrible movies in my backyard and dreamed about the future. Maybe some friendships never really die. They just need the right moment to remind you why they mattered in the first place. Update, 3 days later. I didn't expect this post to get so much attention. Thanks for all the comments and awards. A lot of you wanted to know how the cabin visit went, so here's a quick update. I spent the weekend at his place upstate, and it was honestly surreal at first. The cabin turned out to be a modest but beautiful house near a lake, completely secluded. No staff, no entourage, just him making terrible pancakes like he used to at my house when we were teenagers. We fished, hiked, and spent hours just talking on the dock. He showed me early scripts for projects he's considering. I showed him plans for the small business I'm trying to start. It felt normal in a way I hadn't expected. The weirdest part was when he admitted he keeps a box of memorabilia from our hometown, including those awful movies we made as kids. We actually watched some of them, laughing until we couldn't breathe at our terrible special effects and dramatic overacting. You know, he said at one point, I almost showed these to the director when I auditioned for my first big role. These stupid films are why I learned how to act in the first place. As I was leaving, he mentioned that his mom still asks about me all the time. He's going back home for her birthday next month and asked if I wanted to come along. It would be the first time he's returned to our hometown since he left. I said yes. For those asking if I feel used or if I'm just starstruck, neither, honestly. We're different people now, but the core of why we were friends is still there. Fame magnifies everything. Mistakes, insecurities, the good and bad in people. But underneath all that, He's still the same person who knows all my embarrassing stories and can make me laugh like no one else. I don't know what the future holds for either of us, but I'm glad I went to that premiere. Sometimes the universe gives you a chance to reconnect with the people who shaped you, even when you think that door has closed forever.